Question 16. A person borrows £50,000, which is to be repaid over 20 years in 20 equal annual amounts. The lender charges an annual compound interest rate of 5%, which remains constant throughout the period. The interest is added at the end of each year. Each instalment is paid after the interest has been added to the account, with the first instalment paid 1 year after the loan was taken out. Calculate the amount of each annual instalment. Okay, this is not particularly easy at all. So let's write it out for the first few years and figure out what on earth is going on. Okay, so you begin with £50,000 that you owe. Okay, after year one, at the end of year one, you owe 50,000 multiplied by 1.05, which is the interest, minus the amount that you're going to pay. But we don't know what that is, so we're just going to call this P, or whatever letter you want. Okay, so that's how much you owe at the end of year one. Okay, at the end of year two, this amount of money that you owe has 5% interest charged to it. And then you make your payment. So you've minused P from your debt because you've paid a little bit back. So let's just tidy that up. That is 50,000 times 1.05 squared minus 1.05p minus p. That's how much you owe at the end of year two. Okay, that's what we're working out, how much we owe. At the end of year three, we need to find a pattern. You can probably start seeing that there's going to be a sequence pattern, but this is the amount of money that you have, this that you owe. Therefore 1.05 5% interest is charged on all of this. So we put this in a bracket, exactly as I've tidied it up to be that expression, multiplied by 1.05, that's the 5% interest that's added on, and then we make our payment of P. Okay, so let's tidy this up. So this is now 50,000 times 1.05 cubed minus 1.05p at 1.05 squared times p minus 1.05 times p minus p. So I'm timesing out that 1.05 there to make it cubed, times it there to make it squared, times it there so it comes up once, and then that term. Okay, so this is how much we owe at the end of year three. Can we see a pattern? Should we do one more? You may not need this line. It's everything that I've written here with 5% interest and then minus P that you've made your payment. Okay, so now we're going to times out with this 1.05, so we get 50,000 times 1.05 to the 4 minus 1.05 cubed P minus 1.05 squared P minus 1.05 P minus P. Okay, we can definitely see a pattern now. So by the end of year 20, I'm just going to copy this out, this pattern, but with a 20. So we will owe 50,000 times 1.05 to the 20 minus, now notice this drops immediately, this is now 1 below 4, so this is now going to be 1 below 20, so it's minus 1.05 to the 19p, minus 1.05 to the 18p. I'm not going to write them all out, obviously, all the way down to minus p. Okay, but in 20 years, we've repaid it. So we owe nothing at the end of 20 years. Okay, right, I think we've done most of the tricky bit now. Let's hop all the p terms over onto that side. And we get p plus 1.05 p plus 1.05 squared p plus all the way up to 1.05 to the 19p. And if we take p out as a factor, 1 plus 1.05 plus 1.05 squared, all the way up to 1.05 to the 19. Now, this is a GP. It's not a sum to infinity, is it? It's a sum of 20 terms. Don't be fooled with a 19 there. You've got the first term there. So we need the sum of the 20 terms of the GP. A is 1, R is 1.05. Our formula is A 1 minus R to the N over 1 minus R from the formula book. So 1 times 1 minus 1.05 to the 20 divided by 1 minus 1.05, which, let's work that out, 1 minus 1.05 power 20 over 1 minus 1.05. 33.065951. I'm going to go with all the decimals because I have a feeling that I'm going to probably want to be very accurate at the end. So I can also work out this side. That's just a simple calculation. Let's work out 50,000 times 1.05 to the power 20. That is 132,664.88. That is an 8, yes, 8853. Okay, and then that is equal to 33.065951, lots of p, and therefore we can divide through because we're trying to work out what p was, what was our annual payment. Okay, what an effort. Okay, £4,012.13. That seems quite a lot, but you are borrowing £50,000 and you are having interest added on. So effectively, you're going to repay an awful lot more than the original amount you borrowed, but that's what interest does. Okay, it's not a nice question at all. Okay, they seem to be getting worse and worse with these GP questions. You have to try very hard to think about building up from, in this case, year 1 to year 2 to year 3. So you make sure you read the question really carefully and you figure out what is going on and can you put that into an equation or just express it with your numbers. Okay. The annoying thing was that the thing that you were working out wasn't like the N. Normally it's, now, how many years does it take? This is, what is the amount of the repayment? Okay, so that made it much more awkward. But anyway, at least if you've listened through this, if they do something like this again, you've got a little bit of an idea of the sort of thing that you would need to be writing. And you just have to try and figure it out on the fly. There is not a lot of revision practice, okay, for this. It is just trying to figure it out as you go along. Okay, try and express what they've told you and just sort of build it up. Year 1, year 2, year 3. That was the way I tackled it. I didn't recognize this as the type of question I'd done before. You just have to try and work out what it's telling you, get that down on paper. You know, you read it to start with and it sounds horrible, and try and put something down on paper to represent what it's describing, and then hopefully you'll see some sort of pattern.